like, this is the next phase of your life and you need to grow, and there's a point where you're like, you need to take that dishwashing job, and you need to go flip burgers at Dairy Queen, you need to just like do all that shit, and then like you gain skills, and then maybe you're a little bit better at getting a different job or something, like checking out, and there's so many opportunities, especially with temp agencies. I've had so many rad, cool experiences through temp agencies, and it worked great because I was like, you know, quitting jobs all the time to go on tour for my bands and shit, and like, or like whatever it was, and you know, I could just go back to the temp agency, a different job whenever I wanted. So I got all kinds of different experience, and it just like was a gateway into the trades, and like being able to like, oh man, it was just so good for me. But I feel like, so my point being is like,
13 years at the same place.
You can't, like, at what point have you learned everything there was to learn at Sobeys?
Well, that's just it. I think it is something cool to stay at a job for 13 years as long as you're mentally engaged. Like, with my job teaching right now, I feel like I'm not bored. And if there's opportunity to move up, too, like... I just feel like I'm not bored psychologically at all. Like, I'm just dealing with other people. That's it. And that's never-ending amount of learning that you could do. All my other jobs, exactly what you said, like, I feel like I learned that skill. I'm done. I learned it. I can do it anytime. Yeah. Like, I can always come back and do this. Most jobs would say, anytime you want to come back, we'd happily have you. Because I can do the job. I just don't want to. I'm like, I'm not just going to... What a waste. People, I was driving a cab one time, and I'd get along with tons of people in the cab. And these teenagers invited me into their house, and I was, like, getting stoned and drunk or whatever. I don't think while I was driving, but, like, obviously that's what they were doing in there. Oh, yeah. And I told them I could play guitar, so they brought me in, they had a guitar, and I played through the amp, and then he just looks at me after I'm done, and he's just like, why are you driving cab? Why are you driving a taxi? Yeah. Like, you could be playing guitar. Like, I can't do that. I'd want to be doing that, you know? All those times I've been in those jobs, the thing that scared me the most is that people that have been there for like 10, 15 years, I look at them and I'm just like, I do not want to be that. I do not want to say that ever. Like, 10, 15 years here, it just seems like torture. It's like a personal prison that you put yourself in. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, things can turn stagnant, and if you don't know when it's time to like bail out of something that's just no longer good for you, then and like I think I agree with you about the whole the thing that scares me about it is just the sheer monotony of some of these things, like just like just literally repeating the same task verbatim over and over. The worst I experienced that was at the call center. Oh, dude, I get calls in my sleep. I'd be sleeping, oh my god! And I'd be answering the phone in my sleep, and I'd wake up and be like, I didn't even sleep. I just worked all night. Oh man, I've had that with I think every job I've done. I've had dreams about driving forklifts around, and I've had dreams about like making Subway sandwiches and shit. Yeah. But and I have roofing dreams now too. Like Robin, I'm just like I'm reaching and grabbing for shingles and shit. I'm like just acting out my dreams. She's asking me what I'm dreaming about. I'm literally like, there's a gun there. I'm grabbing it and like just going all in in the bed. I don't like that. I don't have that. And I'm glad I don't have it because I feel like I'm working in my dreams. I'm not getting paid for that shit. I know. I want to be getting paid. But I learned that you can get better at shit if you dream doing it. So I see it as like training. You're practicing in your sleep. Oh my god. That's the ultimate. You just gotta be playing guitar in your sleep, and you wake up 9 hours later, and you're just like, check this out. You advance years in a single night. What? You gotta make some sort of audiobook or something with this so people can just lay in bed and just be like, alright, get ready. Now grab your guitar. Yeah. I'll teach people new languages and fucking just my voice. Idiots. We almost lost the skill we didn't know we still had it in thousands of years. Bringing it back. Yeah, maybe it embeds itself into other people's like psyche, and then someone else generations later dreams it, remembers the skill. What did I see recently about parallel universes? I think I shared it with you, Miranda. It was like it was like deja vu or something when that happens. I shared it with you, I think. When deja vu happens, apparently it's like one of the parallel universes, I don't know what the proper word, alternate universe or whatever, is like when they start vibrating at the same frequency, because everything's got a unique vibrational signal, all of us giving off vibrations or whatever, and our Earth apparently when it eventually sometimes it syncs up. It compares it to like tuning a radio. You couldn't always be at the same frequency at once. Like you can't listen to all of them at once. Like parallel universes, you'd have to hone into the frequency to get to that universe or whatever. And that was related to like this city in the sky. I don't know if you've seen that. It was on the news, CNN and stuff like that. Over China, twice in 2 different places, there was a city up in the sky, in the clouds.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, well, you have to we'll put a link on the thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was on the news, and you look up, and it's just like a floating city. It's amazing, and you see it, and you're like, oh my, what the? And this whole thing is about alternate universes. I'm pretty sure. What was it? Parallel universes, something like that. Anyway, it was pretty amazing. So sometimes when you have deja vu, apparently that's like the parallel universe. So you just synced up with it for a second or something like that. I don't really know.
Man, I don't know what the fuck is up with deja vu, but I'm pretty much open to anything, man. It's like, because deja vu is fucking weird when it happens.
Dude,
and
I've been getting it a lot.
I've been having some seriously long ones too. Like,
I know, dude. It's more than just a second. It's just like, okay, no, I've been here. I've seen this.
I know, like, every word you're saying.
And then you try and go back and remember it, and you're just like, well, maybe I haven't been here, but for some reason. That's the weird thing, almost as if you had already been there in a parallel universe.
I remember reading one thing that was saying how it was something to do with, like, there's a part of your brain that's engaged when you're remembering something versus when you're just observing something that's happening in front of you, and that for whatever reason it's just like the feed switches or something, and you start feeling like your memory is, or like you feel like your present experience is a memory. And they say, like, that gets flipped during deja vu. But, like, for me, that still doesn't explain, like, why that happens.
Yeah.
But that's, like, the physical description, at least.
Okay. It starts processing it as memory or something immediately. You're just like, oh, it's going in the memory category, or it's like your brain's using...
Yeah, it's like it switches on you or something. Yeah. It's still, like, pause for, like, contemplation, I think. It's just such a weird thing that happens, like...
Well, yeah.
Something we all experience, like...
Yeah, something really weird like that. And I don't know. There was a bunch of things in this article, like people remembering a movie that was never made or something like that. Hundreds of people, thousands of people all started these online things. Remember this movie? It's like never made. It's like it's almost as if everyone had a similar deja vu or something like that.
Man, I had a weird experience. My old friend Dakota Harmer, if he ever happens to hear this, will remember. But there was, him and I both remember this instructional video being shown to us in elementary school.
I can only imagine what this is going to be.
It was called Wonder Cat. Like, I need anyone out there who knows what Wonder Cat is to speak up. I'm having a crisis.
I am losing my mind. I'm searching everywhere.
Like, everyone that me and Dakota talked to from our school, like, multiple years, no one else remembers it. But, like, me and him both remember the same episode where he, like, fell out of a tree. It starts out with him falling out of a tree.
Well, that's just it.
And then exactly he goes, like, I wonder. And this narrator goes, like, what do you wonder, Wonder Cat? He's like, why didn't I fall up? He's like, well, let me show you all about that, Wonder Cat. And so each episode was just teaching this cat about something. But anyways, yeah.
I feel like they could do that anytime they wanted with... anything. Someone that has that much power to put any video or audio in front of that many children. You know what I mean? I feel like you could put it in and take it away anytime you wanted to. Like their minds, if you understand how the human mind works well enough. I thought about that recently when I was in the shower listening to YouTube, like I normally do, listen to my music. And in between songs, there's an ad for the military. And it starts off with, are you ready to die for your country? And then goes in and starts asking you all these questions. Are you ready to learn a new trade? Are you ready to learn how to fly a helicopter or something like that?
Fuck yeah.
All this stuff that's like great badass. But it started with like, are you ready to die for your country?
Yeah.
First off, like, shocked me. I'm in the shower. I'm just like, what? Did my phone just say to me? So
was that you, God?
So I was just like thinking, maybe I misheard this, okay? Yeah. Maybe I misheard this. I'm going to wait until I hear it again. So, because I do this all the time. So then I listen again on YouTube. A military ad comes up. This time, it only plays the second half of the ad. And every time I've heard it, it only plays the second half. Totally cuts off that one thing. As if it would never be there, and you could never look it up, and they just put it as a one-off just to say,
what if they're watching with the phone
plant that seed, you know? Like
they're watching you with the phone camera while the ads are running. They're like, oh, people are having a bad reaction to this one.
Yeah, exactly. Bad reaction immediately, and they just take it down.
Yeah. Who knows what the fuck's up? But man, I do know that the military is super hurting for numbers right now. So, like, it makes sense that they're pushing ads because, like, and I've also heard, and I won't say who I've heard it from, but, like, friends of mine in the military and saying, like, the things that the officers are talking to them about are, like, we're training you boys to go to war with Russia.
Yeah.
That's what they're planning for or something. It's like, shit, homie.
Well, I mean, they got to plan for something, you know? Might as well plan for the worst case scenario.
Well, you know, exactly, yeah, regardless of it. Because I've also heard about things like, there's, like, some unwritten, like, kind of agreement between Canada and Russia, because we both have, like, the most amount of fresh water in our countries, that, like, if it ever came down to it about the fresh water, Canada and Russia would team up and we would fucking try and fight the world for water.
Well, if that's the case, then we're sucking on that end of the bargain, because we're going to get invaded, no problem.
By America, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They already got control of the whole...
One of the things I think about, man, is this quote, I don't know, I just saw it on a meme, but it was some samurai quote, and it was a dialogue between a master and a student, which a lot of, like, Zen stories are. It's just like, they're gardening, and the student just asked him something like, you're training me all these sword techniques so I can just dice people to bits and slaughter everyone around, but then you're also in this garden here teaching me how to, like, be kind to the plants and be compassionate in my life, and like, how are those things, how do you reconcile that? And the master just says it's way better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And I think about, like, how many fucking gardeners will we have in a war? If a real war actually happened, like, none of these just, like, kind of pretend wars in the Middle East between people, but, like, it's actually us versus, like, another big force.
Yeah, dude.
Other multiple countries are ganging up, like...
Well, that's where you have a personal responsibility. I think a gardener could be an incredibly good warrior if he took the time out of his day to do that, just like a music teacher could, just like someone working at Wendy's could go home and get jacked, and they're doing
and we all should just do that.
Yeah, we should. If you enjoy working at Wendy's, then work at Wendy's. That's the whole idea. Like, I don't want to occupy that space because I don't like doing that. I'll free up that job so someone else can do it that wants that.
And then there's just, like, this is kind of a harsh thing that I imagine people might not like hearing, but, like, well, I'll put it like this. I once spent a weekend sanding hardwood floors for 10 hours each day. Right?
I know how this is going.
You know where this is going. And just this thing dawned on my head after I was just, like, running this machine for 10 hours, 3 days straight, just trying to sand down these floors. And I was like, this is a job for robots. Then I thought, if robots are doing this job, then what are all the retarded people going to do for work?
I think that's what retired people actually want, and we use that word, and
yeah, give them responsibilities that they can handle.
They want to be involved in society. Like the people we know, they talk about it all the time. They should be integrated in society and making the most of them, just like make the most of anybody that's in the workforce at all. Like, be like, what are your qualifications? What are your skills? Maybe you should do that. You don't have to, but this would be the best option for you. You'd be an amazing shoemaker. Like, go make some shoes, I think that would be like some really strong guidance counseling, Yeah. Maybe that should be the parent's job. Probably should a lot of that rest on the parent to direct your child.
Well, I just wonder, like, at what point did people start losing faith in everything enough that, like was it just the general, like, objective scientific view taking over and people just not having any rational justification for a spiritual or sense of, like, being united with something more than life? Or
I don't think it's that it's taken over as so much as that we've lost all concept of what came before.
Yeah.
It's just like taking on this new faith and just not having any foot still in the old, what got us here, I think, obviously, to be a smooth transition, it'd be a meld of both. Obviously, the other one starts, and we still need 100% of this thing that's kept us alive, but it just seems to be like the other one took over and it's still at a small percentage. It's obviously growing, but it's just like we're at that turning point, so it's really weak right now. But it would be nice just to see some more morals and values before we can explain scientifically why it's good for you not to kill people or whatever, And
we're getting to that point, too, which is good.
Yeah, and it's nice. Yeah, it progresses all the time, but I still think that we're missing a lot of pieces of the puzzle that can be filled in with other things, potentially.
Totally, man. Well, there's shit I see some changes that are just blowing my mind, like the fact that mushrooms are up for legalization in California. And it's just like, I didn't expect to be seeing that shit anytime soon, like... It's just the way weed's been going around, just legalizing everywhere. It's just fucking blowing my mind.
Yeah,
exactly. It totally is. And so, like, I think about, like, how crazy technology is going to make the world, like, different from what it was. But, like, even just how the culture is now going to be, like, a weed culture. And it's soon going to be, like, a psychedelic mushroom culture if that spreads. And it's, like, that shit can completely change everything. Like coffee changed everything when that was legalized. Like,
I hope the next